Your goal by the end of the period today is to use imagery or descriptive language to create a setting. So, imagery is a term that we haven't spent a lot of time talking about. However, it's a really important literary term. It's probably one of the most important tools that writers use to create an experience for the reader. Imagery is descriptive language that helps the reader imagine or picture or experience the world of a piece of literature. And it draws on the five senses: taste, touch, sight, smell, and sound. I chose this image here because it's a moment for me that I can remember a lot of these senses. So this is a picture of my parents' lake cabin, and it's around dusk. So it's early evening. The sun is setting, and I am sitting on the dock. So I love to sit on the dock at this time of day and just look out. So some of the things that I experience in this moment, right? So sight is probably the easiest, right? I see just these colors, these rich colors that are mixing together as the sun sets, right? I see the trees and the mountains silhouetted by the light. I can see that soft blue color of the water in the sky. I can hear the water kind of hitting the dock. There's kind of a rhythm to it. The dock creaks often, which I can hear. I can hear some children kind of playing in the distance. I can smell kind of the leftover barbecue smell. It smells like burnt coals and hamburgers. I can feel the warmth of the water, even though the wind is pretty chilly, and there's not a lot that I'm tasting, but I might have some leftover hamburger taste in my mouth because we always barbecue at the lake cabin. So there's a lot that I can sense in this moment. And so that's why I chose it. So as you work through this lesson, I want for you to be picturing some of those moments for you that you could use to really write about imagery. So let's look at an example from a published writer. So this is a poem by Pat Mora called Gold. And I chose it because it has some really strong imagery or sensory language in it that I want you to notice. Gold by Pat Mora. Sparrow on Segura watches rabbit, watches us in the gold of the setting sun. Setting sun. Hawk sails on waves of light, sees sparrow, rabbit, lizards, me, our eyes shining, watching red and purple, sand, rivers stream down the hills. I stretch my arms wide as the sky, like hawk, extends her wings, in all the gold light of this home. When sun paints the desert with its gold, I climb the hills. Wind runs round boulders, ruffles my hair. I sit on my favorite rock. Lizards for company, a rabbit, ears stiff in the shade of a segura. In the wind, we're all eye to eye. So what I want you to do is I want for you with your partner, if you're sitting with your partner or if you're on your own, I want for you to read it one more time through. And I want for you to notice, you don't need to write it down, but just notice some of the things that the writer sees or hears or tastes or touch or smells. So for example, in this first stanza, right, the reader sees the sparrows on the segura. She sees the rabbit. She sees the gold of the setting sun. Of the sun setting. She sees the hawk and the sparrow and the rabbit and the lizards. She sees the red and the purple sand rivers. She probably hears them as well, right? So you're going to have a lot of sights, but I want you to notice some of those other smells as well. What does she hear? What does she taste? What does she feel? What does she smell? Okay, let's look at one of my examples. So your goal is really to be able to use imagery or sensory details to create a setting, to create this moment where the story or this place where the story is going to be set, where the story takes place. And your goal is to really create an experience for the reader. So create a moment for the reader. So I have chosen to write about this moment at the lake around dusk. And I have filled it with lots of those sensory details, lots of things that I see and hear and taste and touch and smell. I sit alone on the edge of the dock, my feet barely skimming the surface of the warm water. A feeling of stillness fills the cool breeze that dances across my hair and neck. I pull grandmother's quilt a little tighter and look out across the lake. The trees and mountains are silhouetted by the rich colors of the sky. I love how the colors blend together, white becoming yellow, becoming orange, becoming a hazy red, the last moments of the day reflected in the soft blue water. The lake in early evening smells like barbecue, burnt coals and hamburgers. I can still see smoke coming from a fire pit a few cabins away, although the people have gone. I listen to the calming rhythm of the water, lapping against the side of the dock. The boards creak slightly with each wave. I can hear children playing in the distance, but they're too far to watch. Instead, I watch the water moving lazily. It's been busy all day, and now it's quiet. It is still. So here's my piece where I have used imagery, I've used sensory language to really create a setting for you as the reader. Your job now is to do the same. If you are someone who is writing the meeting or exceeding standard prompt, so you will ultimately take some of your shorter writing pieces and just revise them as your independent writing project, you are going to write from the first prompt. So your prompt is you're going to choose a colorful memory. That could be a happy or a sad memory, but you really need to be able to capture it in that moment. It needs to be a moment that has lots of things that you were experiencing, lots of those senses. If you're writing about, if you're producing an independent writing project that is a longer narrative piece, you are going to write about a fictional setting. So if you've decided on the setting for your independent writing project, you can write about that setting. You can actually start your narrative now. If you haven't, if you're still playing with some ideas, you can imagine a setting where you might set your piece. So maybe you could even try on a couple settings for this writing prompt. So here's your assignment. Whether you're writing about a moment that you've experienced or whether you're writing about a fictional setting, your assignment is to use imagery or sensory details to paint the scene for the reader. Really make the reader experience this moment. Try to use as many of the 5 senses: taste, touch, sight, sounds, and smells in your writing. This should be several paragraphs long. Don't stop after a paragraph. Really see if you can continue to paint that picture for 3-4 paragraphs for the reader. Get started.